Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast. Welcome back, Patrick. He's got the drink ready for the toast.
It's only right.
And and you made it strong, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, I wasn't expecting all that.
What are you drinking over there?
I got myself a vodka and Sprite Zero going right now, which is pretty good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so you're back and ready to go some rounds with all this fucking shit going on this week, huh?
I'm back, man. Yeah. I had to be on my P's and Q's this time around, man. I just got done, like I was telling you before, getting caught up on the TUF, which was fun because honestly, I haven't watched TUF in like a million seasons. So
Yeah. It's crazy getting back into it. I've watched it, like there's a couple seasons where I would start it and then I would kind of fall off and then forget. So I would just, catch up on social media and maybe go back and watch an episode or two if there's a lot of, heat around it or good fights. But other than that, it's kind of been that's what I was saying earlier. Like a lot of these people that are just getting into the Ultimate Fighter are like, oh, this shit's crazy. And I'm like, oh man, it used to be so much better. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about some TUF 31. There's a whole bunch of shit going on this week. Like there's a boxing match, there's BKFC, one championship, PFL, and the Ultimate Fighter, and the UFC pay-per-view 289, which is always the star of my show. Obviously, if there's no UFC, then I count on other shit. But I'm always gonna be UFC centric here. So
but yeah, big things popping in the realm of fighting sports right now.
No doubt. And after the past couple weeks that have been a little slow and all that shit, it's kind of nice to have a lot to talk about to the point where I don't have to deep dive into some of it because I got too much other shit to talk about, which is cool. And I know way more about MMA overall, especially UFC, but I still like I've always said, it's combat sports, so we talk about all of it. But when I got somebody in here with me, I like to just kind of, ease into all the big stuff, and then we do deep dives. Everything else will just kind of touch on a little bit. So that's what everybody can be ready for. And I hope, if anybody's here watching live, join in on the chat. Hit us up with any questions you got about anything that we're talking about at the moment or comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good shit that you got to do on YouTube and help out my channel. And if you like Patrick too, you gotta hit that like button.
Absolutely. Hey, I was gonna say, shout out to Clark, man.
Yeah,
we talked about maybe doing this with the three of us. So shout out to Clark, and hopefully we'll get one in, man.
Yeah. He was gonna be on. It was gonna be three of us finally syncing up, and unfortunately he forgot about something. He had prior engagement, so it's all good. I love you, Clark, even though you're a fool and didn't pay attention. No, it's all good. We'll get it in one of these days. I think it'll be fun because you've always got, like, even if you say you're not that up on a topic, you still have something good to add in. And Clark's always entertaining, so yeah, it's gonna be fun. So whenever that happens, and I know he was excited, and then he was all upset when he realized he couldn't fucking do it. So it is what it is. So we still have fun. So yeah, we got. What else has been going on with you?
Nothing much, man. It's been kind of crazy, like work-wise. Like literally today, we just had like a bigger event thing that was going on. So it's been a hectic week, man. Like this drink I'm sipping on is well earned. So I'm just excited to have some downtime, and I'm looking forward to this weekend, man.
Yeah, today was a bit stressful for me. I was getting pulled in all kinds of directions, so I was ready to have a drink as well. And I always wait, like even though I come home and I'm like, I could use a drink right now. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna wait till the show starts. And then I'll get it going then. So, and I figured, you'd probably drink it up with me at least for a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So we got a fuckload of stuff to talk about. So let's just get right into it. And, I'm going to start with the stuff I don't know that much about because, well, that's how I roll sometimes. So here we go. We're going to get started with the boxing match that's going on this weekend. We have Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez. If you're a boxing fan, I'm sure you recognize both those names. I've always known about Lopez just because, he's got a kind of rather unique first name, and well, he's got my last name, so it's one of those things. But yeah, this is happening on Saturday. I guess it's gonna be on ESPN and ESPN Plus. So if everyone's wanting to check that out, you got to go over there to to see that. But yeah, Josh Taylor is defending his belt against Teofimo Lopez. He's the junior lightweight world champ right now. So boxing has crazy. Well, I guess boxing was around before MMA, but when you put the weight classes between MMA and boxing together, it's like real weird when you look at the boxing ones. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to that. Yeah, it's kind of nutty, but
that'll be good for us fans, though. It's going to be cool to have that kind of as a segue into the pay-per-views and stuff like that. So
definitely.
Yeah, admittedly, I don't normally pay too much attention to boxing if it's not like considered one of the bigger fights.
Right.
I have heard of Lopez before though, so it'll be cool to see what happens with this one.
Yeah, and it's always a decent deal when they fight at Madison Square Garden, even though it's the theater, technically what used to be called the Hulu Theater, I guess. But anytime there's an event there, they always do a lot of promotion for it. So, but yeah, that's a boxing match going on this weekend. If anyone's into boxing, the undercard, hey, I'm always real. I don't know shit about them. So
hey, shout out to boxing for finally kind of like doing their thing to build up new stars and bring in like these young cats,
Yeah, it does seem like it's been happening a lot more lately, and it seems like they're kind of in the mix of the news a lot more than it used to be. Like I used to not see shit about boxing. I'd hear about it on a podcast here and there sometimes, but I wouldn't actually see everything happening. So now I'm actually seeing quite a bit in the mix of everying else.
It seems like they're doing their thing too to kind of have guys fight each other when they should be fighting. Not so much like placating and ducking and dodging with contendership and stuff like that. So I like it.
And good example, the Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia fight. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford are fighting soon. So, with all that happening, and that's what they got to do. They got to get it while the fans are hot about that matchup. That's what that's what the UFC does. That's what MMA does. And, they need to stop acting like because they've been around forever, they're too good for what the other organizations do and just kind of roll with the trends, That's what we were just talking about earlier. You got to roll with the trends sometimes, whether you like it or not. It's not necessarily a sellout move. It's just a smart thing to do at the moment. So you got to do what you got to do. And that's what boxing is doing. So, so that's the big boxing match for this week. And so we will move into the bare knuckle somewhat boxing aspect because it is technically boxing, but not a lot of big names on this card. BKFC 44 happening tomorrow. Yeah, it's always on Friday. I had to look at the date. I don't even know what date it is. I know it's Thursday.
It's all starting to blend together.
Yeah, it's show day, but I don't know the actual date. Anyway, so this is happening in Montana, which is, BKFC is only like sanctioned in certain places. So Montana is one of those big ones that's happening. See, this says, I love it when you look at an article and it says the wrong thing and you're like, am I wrong or are they wrong? I trust the poster because the article says June 10th. I'm like, why would it say June 10th? That's weird. So anyway, let's see. I wanted to see, it's Kai Stewart versus Louis Lopez. That's the main event. And as far as anybody else down there on the bottom, I don't know a lot of these guys. This isn't a card that has a bunch of ex-UFC fighters or ex-MMA fighters. And if they are, I don't know their names. So
I'm trying to look at some of the fighters in here and just seeing if I recognize anyone. And off the top of my head and just glancing at the pictures, there isn't really anyone that I recognize.
No, but Gabriel Mota looks like he just got out of the pen and was, dealing with MS-13 and whatnot. It's always mugshots, man. Always mugshots. No, that's a crazy artwork on his chest right there. That's what stood out to me. But Bryce Henry sounds familiar. So, but I don't know where he might be from. But these guys always have crazy names. Dallas Davison, like, what the fuck?
Lloyd over there in like the co-main event, he almost looks like a freaking Caucasian Houston Alexander a bit.
Oh yeah. Actually, what's funny is that's what I thought too when I first saw it.
Yeah, for a second I was like, Houston's fighting? Dang.
Yeah, and Houston just fought though. Motherfucker's 51 years old and got a win over a 28-year-old. So
well, they say that power is the last thing to go, and he certainly had that.
yeah, and he's always had that. So BKFC is making a name with some of those fights that they put on with these big name guys from back in the day, and people like Mike Perry coming over and being a star here when he was he was well known in the UFC, but his record wasn't great, and
they're definitely finding their niche.
Yeah, they are. So it's a cool thing to watch. Me and my daughter's boyfriend checked it out one day while it was on live, and I mean it was kind of cool. So it was like whatever. It's something cool to watch if you just want to see some fights, because it's a good mix between a real organized fight and a street fight, because it looks real street when you're watching it. So, but yeah, that's another event going on tomorrow, and then another event going on tomorrow is going to be another one championship fight, which hasn't. I think it's been a bit since they had one, but yeah, those always take place one fight night on Prime Video. So this is number 11, and these guys, again, not a ton of guys that I really know a lot of. It's Regan Ursel versus Dmitry Menashikov. Fucking Russian name, hard to say.
Menshikov.
Oh yeah, it is Menshikov. Yeah, you're right. There you go. But as far as oh, I did the wrong thing. There it is. So there's the rest of your card, and of course, one championship is known for all their extra different types of martial arts that they put on. So that top fight is gonna be a lightweight Muay Thai World Championship, heading up the card there, and then you go into a lightweight submission grappling World Championship, which Cade Ruotolo is actually a pretty fucking big stud. Like, this fool is great at grappling, good submissions against Tommy.
They had the compression shirts on, so I was like, oh, that's
yeah,
grappling.
Tommy Langaker. Yeah, I'm not sure who that dude is. He's from Norway. Haven't really heard of him, but Ruotolo's been in the headlines quite a bit, and he is the champ right now. Let's see, we got a featherweight MMA. Super Bond fighting Tayfun Ozkan. Damn. That's a featherweight kickboxing match. Not a ton of MMA on this one. It looks like there's a lot more kickboxing and Muay Thai going on. Oh, Nikki Holskin, though. That's a good one. He's a big name in kickboxing against Arian Sadikovic. Yeah. You know me. I struggle with these fucking names, man.
I'm just let you handle that, because I'm not even going to try.
I'm okay with some of them, but there's some other ones it's just fucking tough, man, especially when you get into the real foreign names. But that girl fight there, strawweight Muay Thai fight, Martine Micheletto versus Amber Kitchen. All I got to say is Amber Kitchen, you might want to go check out her Instagram if she hands one, because damn, she's got some piercing eyes, man.
Yes.
But yeah, that's about it. So, I mean, again, if you like combat sports and you like a big mix of everything, you get to see some Muay Thai, some kickboxing, grappling, MMA. You get to see all of it here. So check out One Fight Night on Prime Video. So that's tomorrow. It says 5 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, so it's kind of early. And it's kind of weird that they put some of these events on so early.
Yeah, it's going to be a stacked weekend, it looks like.
Yeah, so that's 2 events on Friday, and I should have probably put this one up first because fucking PFL is on right now, which I did not realize. I thought it was coming on tomorrow. It's usually on Fridays. And today it's on. I started seeing updates on what was happening with some of these fights because I noticed a name that popped up on the
list. And I saw that like live now. It's like go over and switch over to watch it. So yeah, it's kind of unusual that they would do something on a Thursday. But
yeah,
to me it makes sense though, because they don't want to compete with boxing, UFC, and everything else that's going to be going on.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of weird because most of the time when they do a different night, it's usually Friday. Like, because Friday's just, it rolls right into Saturday. People are like getting ready to watch the big events. But yeah, so it looks like there's already been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my God, is this so the main event is, oh no, they're in about the middle of the card. There's a lot of fights. A lot of fights. Let's see. Of the people that have fought already, there is a former UFC fighter, Impa Kasangane, against Tim Karan in a light heavyweight fight. So that fight's happened already. Impa Kasangane won that fight. He's the one that got that crazy spin kick. He got kicked in the face by Joaquin Buckley, where he caught his kick, and he's the one that got kicked in the face. Poor dude. But yeah, he's getting some wins over at the PFL, so that's cool. Let's see who else. Chris Wade was in the UFC as well before, and he was fighting Ryoji Kudo, and Chris Wade got the win, so that's good.
All right.
And then let's see. I think Marlon Moraes, dude, poor Marlon Moraes, man. That guy I think he needs to quit. I think he needs to go find something else to do, because now he just lost after losing his last fight to the guy at the top of this card, which is Brendan Loughnane. He lost to Brendan Loughnane before, not too long ago, and he just lost to Gabriel Braga tonight. So that kind of sucks. Yeah. And man, he was on a mean losing streak when he was in the UFC. So
that's typically how it goes in this game, man. A lot of people don't get to leave too gracefully, you know.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember Marlon Moraes, but he was doing really well up there fighting for, titles and shit. But talk about a big fall from grace, man. It sucks. I hate to see it, and he's still kind of young, I don't think he's that old, and he always looks like he's in really good shape, but it's just one of those things. So
yeah, he kind of strikes me as a guy that had like a lot of gym wars and stuff like that. So I don't think his age is a real reflection of the miles that he has.
Yep, and he's Brazilian, so they're pretty well known for those gym wars.
Yeah.
But coming up, we got Bubba Jenkins versus, let's see, Joe Sungbin. Bubba Jenkins, though, is a real high decorated, wrestler, and he's been on a tear lately. And then you have Tyler Diamond, who is on the come up right now. I've heard of him because he's on another podcast that I listen to. It's a MMA Roasted. He's been on there kind of being a co-host here and there, or just a guest. He's fighting Mavli Kayabulov. Yeah, another one. But
anytime you got somebody named Bubba, they're usually pretty tough. So
yeah. And then the main event is Brendan Loughnane versus Jesus Pinedo. So that should be good. That's featherweight bout there. Brendan Loughnane with the belt right now. So yeah, that's about it. That's happening live right now. So when this is over, go back and check it out. Until then, stay with us. But yeah, that's your PFL for the week. So already we got 1, 2, 3 events, 3 events. Was that 3 or 4? 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's the
3 already. Yeah.
That's 4.
Oh, 4?
Yeah, wow. The boxing match, BKFC 44, 111, and now PFL 4. So that's a lot of fucking events starting today, going into tomorrow. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the fights that are coming up, besides the UFC pay-per-view, which we will go over coming up in just a bit. But I wanted to throw all these events and, of course, in the news, because they're either happening now or coming up. And, you got to get your fill. So if you're wanting to watch a bunch of fights this weekend, you got a lot to choose from. So, but in other combat sports news, we have some Logan Paul news, because he was rolling around with Izzy Adesanya and Volkanovski. I don't know if you saw any of that.
I saw the Izzy highlight. So, quick like couple seconds that I saw was just him, this actual clip, him getting tapped real quick, which, man, like I've been on the show. I kind of have, stated my case for how I feel with the Paul brothers. But
yeah.
I've seen this dude do his WWE thing and like a couple different things. So I mean, like it looks like he doesn't take himself as serious as the other brother does, which I think is kind of good for what he's, what they're trying to do and stuff like that. So
yeah, on his podcast, he had Jake Paul on there. I talked about it last week, and he just kind of he doesn't take it as seriously as Jake does, and he's more about the WWE right now. Like he said, he's having fun with that, and it's a big thing for him. And I guess he was a real big fan of the WWE as he was growing up. So for him to be in there, and
the crazy thing is like he's already gotten involved in like some bigger shows with them, and like I've seen a couple of the highlights of the things that he's doing, and he's already like doing the crazy stuff like flying off the top pages, and like he's dove right into that world, which good for him, man.
Yeah, and he's real animated and shit too, fucking YouTubers and their
he's jumping off like a selfie thing going at the same time, like
yeah, he's doing big shit over there. So I mean, I give him props for that. I'm never gonna down on anybody for taking the WWE route. It still is hard on the body, even though everything's fake when it comes to the actual altercations. And it's all scripted. But they still got to be pretty good athletes to get through it all. I'm sure a lot of them are on the juice too, but
Yep. I was a fan. My wife to this day will give me shit about that. But
yeah. Hey, I was too, man. I was too. I watched it a lot when I was younger. I watched it a little when I was a little bit older, like right out of high school. I had a friend that wanted to watch it all the time. I was like, ugh, okay. But the reason why I brought this up is because Prime is a sponsor of the UFC now, and it's one of their main sponsors. So they are now sponsoring fighters directly, and Israel Adesanya and Alexander Volkanovski are their first official athletes for Prime hydration and energy drinks. So, the Paul brothers are putting money in fighters' pockets, so I can't down them for that. That's why I cover all these things, and while they're in the news too, like I said earlier, you got to go with what's trending at the moment, and when they're in the news and in the headlines. And it's always involving an MMA fighter from the UFC, so it's kind of hard not to.
Well, anytime like they come up with some stuff that'll give these cats a little bit more money, I always think it's a good thing. So good for them, man. So is the Paul brothers, are they like owners of the Prime thing or something?
So Logan Paul, it's his drink. Yeah, him and KSI are it's their drink. Their hydration and energy drinks
Hey, so I don't pay too much attention to the Pauls, but I thought doesn't one of them beef with the KSI dude?
Yeah, Jake. So, but okay. So this is what's weird, man. This is what's weird. Okay, because Logan signs with the UFC for a sponsorship, right, with Prime, because he owns Prime. He's a founder. Him and KSI fought before and fought to a draw, and then KSI beat him once too, I think. So they fought in boxing, and then but yeah, and then now because Jake is big in boxing and KSI is doing big things in boxing, they're talking mad shit and beefing on Twitter all the time, but yet that's his brother's business partner. And on top of that, Dana and Jake Paul are constantly beefing too, but yet Jake Paul, Logan Paul is in business with Dana White now. It's crazy, man. I don't get it. And people, they were just talking about it on the podcast because Logan Paul has a podcast called Impulsive, and obviously his brother's on there when things are happening. So and his brother,
I gotta say, like I respect that though, because you can't knock the hustle, man. Like support your people, and then get what they need to get.
Right,
so
and that's what Jake said,
man.
He said that, that's my brother and it's his business deals. I don't have beef with him. I got beef with the people he's doing business with. It doesn't get in my way. He's like, I'm not taking any money out of his pocket. He's like, if anything, I'm giving him more publicity. So, that it is what it is. I mean, I guess either way, they're both gaining from it. So you can't blame them. So yeah, on the podcast, they were talking about them fighting each other. Logan Paul's co-host was asking him questions and saying, "Oh, you think it'd be a bigger fight than any of the fights you've had, Jake, if you fight Logan?" And of course, brothers, they just start going at it, and neither one of them seem too interested in it, but they do throw some jabs here and there and talk a little shit to each other. which is kind of funny and entertaining.
Well,
but
if it ends up going brother versus brother, that's got that WWE all over it.
Yeah, and I see that happening more than anything.
Exactly.
It's a storyline. It's a storyline.
Come into a WrestleMania near you.
And that's what it would be too, because that's their biggest event. But I thought it was cool that, official athletes of Prime. And
now, are they going to be able to rock these on like the Prime logos on their gear and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, how you see the Monster Energy stuff all over people's. Yeah, so if Monster had, as well as Reebok and as well as some of their other sponsors, they would sponsor directly specific fighters, and then they would rock the logo on their fight kits.
Dude, so they need to go ahead and just bring in a whole bunch, just have it like back in the day. Like obviously, have Venom as the kit. But yeah, if it's a approved sponsor, why not? Let them put the stuff on.
So they need to just let them get their own sponsors, and even if they want to pre-approve them or whatever, and not riddle the shorts with sponsors, but maybe do like 4 sponsors, 2 in front, 2 in back. They get paid from that, and then they get their fight kit payment, for wearing Venom, because Venom's the uniform sponsor, and so they do get money from that, but it's not much. It's very, very little. Same thing like when Reebok was there, and that's what they tried to do to kind of balance out the whole fact that they can't wear sponsors anymore. So,
which speaking of Reebok, I just want to say rest in peace to Reebok. I was walking Walmart the other day and I seen your whole section in there.
Oh no!
Yeah, so
I did not know that.
Here, man.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's when your brand has died. That sucks. And I bet you anything, like the UFC was probably keeping them afloat, just in popularity. You know what I mean? Because Reebok's, they do gear for a lot of other sports and stuff, but I think the UFC was the most popular, and now that that's gone, yeah, it's tough out here. So anyway, yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to bring up, just because I thought it was cool for Izzy and Volk to get those sponsorships. And of course, I wondered why they were, rolling around with Logan Paul, and now we know. So, but yeah, moving on. Of course, there's been this beef going on because Dana White likes to be spiteful against Francis Ngannou and anybody else that goes against him. So he's been talking about Tyson Fury and John Jones fighting. And this is just a quote of his. He said, "I'm telling Tyson Fury, whom I respect very much, if you really want to find out who the baddest man on the planet is, I'll make that fight. I'll make John Jones versus Tyson Fury in the octagon. We figured out how to pay Floyd. We'll figure out how to pay you too, Tyson. So the offer is out there." But the thing is Tyson already said, I'm not an MMA fighter. I'm a boxer. Which I think is funny considering, and I feel like it's kind of an out, because why would you try to get John Jones to come into the boxing ring when he's not a boxer? So this is
how they always play it, right? And Mayweather tried to do this with McGregor too. They'll say, well, come on out, do this boxing fight with me, and then we'll turn around and we'll do the MMA fight. But the MMA fight never materializes. Which I want to say, Tyson Fury is doing that right now with Ngannou. He's saying, let's fight, let's get a boxing match going, and then, whatever happens with that fight, we'll turn around and we'll have an MMA fight with that. Which, it never really materializes. And then, when it comes to this shit, first of all, Dana White's being a hater with this whole fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like, this literally this was what Ngannou wanted. This was one of his like terms for like wanting to resign. Like, hey, make this happen. Why would you not make this fight? Like,
so
I don't understand why John Jones gets like this preferential treatment from the UFC when John Jones is a fucking scumbag. He's burned them on events. Like seriously, I'm sorry. Fuck John Jones.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, bro.
Like, dude is a scumbag. He's burned them on events. Literally had to cancel stuff. Fuck other people's money up. Like, mid-card and low-card guys that, kind of depend on this to get their name out there and earn that little bit of money that they're going to get from the UFC. So, man.
Hey, I'm with you because, I've said it before. John Jones fucked me out of seeing a fight in Vegas. I was going to go to the pay-per-view.
I remember that.
Motherfucker.
Yep.
So, because he was being a pussy and wouldn't fight Chael Sonnen, they had to cancel the whole event. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. So I've had a personal vendetta against him since then. Now, that doesn't speak to his skills. Obviously, I think he's a very skilled fighter. I give him his props for being, with the strength of schedule and all the title fights and his record and all that. Even though motherfucker has lost, he says he's undefeated. Yep. I get that the rule that he got disqualified for is stupid. I agree with that, but he still got that loss. So, but yeah, this is just dumb.
I'm an admitted John Jones hater, and I could give you like a whole slew of factual evidence as to why, in my opinion, he is overrated. Obviously, he's a top 10 guy for sure, but as far as being like the GOAT, this and that, and all that kind of stuff, it's like, man, if you look at this dude's records, a lot of his wins were against past their prime guys like Shogun when he won the belt. He fought a lot of guys that should be middleweights like Shogun and Chael Sonnen and a couple of other guys. He arguably lost fights against like Alexander Gustafsson and
Dominic Reyes.
Yeah, Dominic Reyes those first times out. So I don't know. Yeah. I've always kind of viewed him as a bit overrated.
Yeah, no, and I just don't like him for personal reasons. I recognize his skill and his talent, but everything you said is true to me as well, and I back that fully. And fuck everybody that wants to hate on that. I don't care, because fuck John Jones. Really, I mean, I don't hate him as much as I hate a lot of other fighters. Well, not a lot, because there's only a few, and I mention them all the time. But there's a few fighters I really hate with a passion. He's not one of those that I hate that much. But I definitely have something against him, and it pisses me off. So
if he would just embrace the fact that he's a scumbag and just own it, like I would have a lot more respect for him. Like don't like parade around and try and present yourself like this good guy when everybody like we know you're a dirtbag, bro. Like you are. Just take ownership of it.
Yeah. Clark's in the chat. What's up, Clark? He's not here, but he's going to be in the chat. So, I mean, speaking on this, yes, Colby is definitely one of the guys I fucking hate. That's what Clark just said, Colby, because he's heard me go off plenty of times about Colby Covington. I hate that motherfucker. And Sean Strickland, fuck those guys. But keeping this going, so Jake Paul, of course, had to get involved. And he's like, wasn't Dana the same person that said, if I'm John Jones watching Francis Ngannou, I'm moving to 185 pounds. Yes, he 100% was. So, Francis Ngannou is the baddest man on the planet. Dana confirmed that while he controlled Francis. Dana sits there talking about, I don't do gimmick fights. That's not what we do over here. Then announces an arbitrary belt to try and steal away attention from Francis joining the PFL. And now desperate, trying to book Tyson Fury to come into the cage. And you didn't pay Floyd, you paid Conor.
Yep.
So,
and he nailed every bit of that tweet or whatever that was because it's 100% true. Like he everything about that was true. Like where was John Jones chirping at when Ngannou was in the UFC, and he really could have come back and had a fight against him? Because you can't tell me that. If Jones would have been like, well, I'll fight him. I'll make my heavyweight debut in a heavyweight title fight against Ngannou. You cannot tell me that them trying to make that fight wouldn't have almost been a guarantee to keep Ngannou in the UFC.
Yeah. Clark told me there was some, sounded like you were speaking double time, which is good. And I appreciate that, Clark. So I think I just fixed it. So text me back if I did. I like it when people tell me when something's up. I think I know why too, but I blame you, Clark, because I had everything set up for 3 people and then you fucking bounced on us. So, asshole. I'm just kidding. I appreciate the help.
It's all your fault, Clark.
We always got to give Clark shit. No, you're right. 100%. Jake Paul fucking and he said fuck all the Pauls. By the way, he's with you on that one. But Jake Paul made a good point here, and that good point is that he fucking he called everything out right here, right now. He basically is doing this out of spite for Ngannou. He did announce, he said the BMF belt is a one-time thing. It's never going to get defended. It's not happening. It's a one-time thing. This is it right here with Masvidal.
And he literally just booked the second one.
And he just booked a second one because he said, oh, well, definitely fixed. Okay, cool. I fixed it. Nice. So, you know, the second coming of the belt now is because he says because Masvidal retired. So I'm like, okay, so that was an easy out. I get it. But why do you keep doing this? You
You
know,
can't say that you don't do gimmick fights and then make
exactly.
up a whole gimmick belt. It don't work like that.
Right. Yeah, he's just making shit up. And Jake Paul, unfortunately, they made up a belt for him too. The WBC made up this belt, that the diarrhea belt. Remember? I don't know if you
Yep.
saw that. That's what it was. I don't remember what it was actually called, but it sounded like diarrhea. But it's like this little tiny belt that looks all stupid, like the fake replica belt of the UFC is all tiny. You can get like a desktop one. That's what his belt looks like. And I know he didn't ask for it, but they
Yeah.
just made it for him. But that's the thing. Just all these stupid belts. The BMF belt was fucking cool for a one-time thing, a one-off thing. For what it was. I mean, at first I was like, "What is this shit?" And I'm like, it's kind of cool, I guess, whatever. But don't keep it
Well, and
going."
then like
And
the people that they had go for the BMF belt were actual bad motherfuckers. Like as much as I like Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, like they don't strike me as bad motherfuckers. Like they're awesome fighters. Like they're awesome to watch. But like I think what Dustin Poirier at this point's like a family man. Like he doesn't strike me as like a BMF.
getting arrested for sucker punching people at a club or
Exactly.
fucking
Yeah.
jumping fools in a parking lot like Nate Diaz, choking
Yep.
people out and busting their heads open. Yeah. Those are all technically crimes, you know what I mean? But it does kind of make him a little
Yep.
more of a badass motherfucker than like Cowboy. Cowboy's more of a family man now, but he was a bad motherfucker back in the day. He was doing all the crazy shit. But I here's the thing. I disagree only a little bit with what you just said because Dustin Poirier and fucking Justin Gaethje are both always involved in the cage. They are badass motherfuckers
Oh
because
yeah, no,
they
don't get
are.
me wrong. Like they're phenomenal fighters. I like, dude. They're guaranteed fireworks anytime they're on. But like, if the gimmick is to promote like dudes that are badasses, like you know, my guy's a hot sauce hustler. You know what I mean? Like you can't be badass. Yeah, selling hot
Oh
sauces.
shit! Shit! Oh man! Ouch! I can't even say anything against that.
Like Justin Gaethje is a murderer.
Yeah.
But like dude looks like he works at like the IT department in Best Buy, you know what I'm saying? Like and don't get me wrong cuz he's a killer, but it's true.
Oh shit. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You know how many memes I've seen of him like next to some picture of a little nerdy guy with glasses and
Yeah,
shit saying this.
exactly.
Yeah, no. That's why I'm laughing so hard because I'm just picturing that meme. It's fucking hilarious. But they're violent. That's the thing. They're always involved in a violent ass fight. Like it's never boring when you watch either one of them fight. So that's the one thing I'll give them. But yeah, you're not wrong in anything you just said. So
Yeah.
I get
They're two guys that don't need gimmicks. Like
they
they
don't.
don't need gimmicks to sell fights. When
Right.
those guys are on a card, you know it's going to be stellar.
Yeah.
Just because they show up and they throw the fuck down.
Right. Right. So, yeah, so the beef and the drama, it's always entertaining. And when you watch people call each other out like this, it's fucking hilarious. Especially when someone's calling out Dana for his bullshit. Even though, Jake Paul's got his bullshit too. But
Yep.
the Twitter beef continues and we move from one Tyson Fury beef to another. Because then you got the Ngannou stuff. So he says, "Anyway, I'll be ready," to Tyson Fury, and Fury says, "I'll have 15 pints and still KO you big stiff tramp." And Ngannou says, "Stop talking, Tyson, and come try. I'm already doing you a big favor using your gloves and your rules because your limited skill set." So, Francis is out there burning people back when he gets burned, so that's kind of good because he doesn't seem like a big shit talker. He looks like the guy that comes in with a mean look on his face and fucking wrecks you. So for him to be talking some shit, it's kind of funny.
That's actually a pretty intriguing fight. I mean, like everything on paper tells me that Tyson Fury, if it's a boxing fight, should win pretty handedly. I think he's going to know how to avoid the power and all that stuff. But Francis has that KO power, man. That he just needs to touch you, dude. And
Yeah.
even with the 12-ounce gloves, like that dude. he'll knock anybody out.
Now, can he knock out Tyson Fury though to where he doesn't get up like the fucking Undertaker like he did against Deontay Wilder?
And
Because
that's
that
why
shit
you
was
gotta and
woo,
that's why this would be so intriguing, man, because it's
definitely.
like as much as you think that Ngannou could, I mean, Tyson's proven he can take a punch, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just two big motherfuckers that it's gonna be lights out for somebody if they were to clash. So who knows? Francis is definitely going after it. He said he ain't fighting in the MMA until next year. So
Absolutely.
the PFL's got to wait because he's looking for that big paycheck and that big fight. So whether it happens or
If I
not, I don't know.
if I'm Tyson too though, like if you played me tape on Ngannou and then played me tape on Jones right next to each other and you're like pick one to fight, if I'm Fury, I'd probably pick Jones to fight, especially if it's going to be purely a boxing match cuz Jones like he doesn't have that KO power. So if it's just going to be boxing, I think Fury has the majority of the advantages there. I don't think Jones would handle himself too much in the boxing ring. I'm not going to say that he's not proficient. I just don't think that he's going to be proficient enough to, you know,
To
finish
hang with,
someone or
yeah,
hang with someone. Yeah, the level of a Tyson Fury.
right. Yeah, it's a different thing, the boxing is called the sweet science for a reason. Now, if you put it up against MMA, MMA fighters have so much other things to worry about that they're not used to only worrying about the hands. So that's what throws most of them off when they go into boxing. You would think that it would, kind of flow over nicely and that they would be able to hang and do a great job in boxing, but it doesn't work that way because they're
Yeah,
used to boxing to make sure that they're also defensive against the kicks and the takedowns,
yeah.
not just boxing to box. So,
I've always just looked at it as apples and oranges. It's two different forms of fighting, right? And just because you're good at one doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate into the other one.
right. Right. And just the same way boxers can't go in and have to worry about all those other things because they're always solely focused on their hands. And to have to
Yeah,
worry
because
about
just
kicks
like I
and
said about like Tyson Fury, being able to handle John Jones in a boxing fight. If Tyson Fury was to go in an actual MMA fight with John Jones would murder him.
yeah. And that's what the whole beef started about because, he had Fury had some words for Joe Rogan because Rogan said that, John Jones would murder Tyson Fury if they got left in a room together to fight it out with no rules because, you know, John Jones has all the skills and Fury just has his hands. Yeah, he might be able to use his size to hold somebody down or take somebody
Yeah.
down, but John Jones has all the defense. So all he has to do is make sure he doesn't get punched and then he's got elbows, knees, kicks, fists,
Yeah.
everything. Takedowns, he can submit him, he can choke him out, you know. That's a big difference.
There's a pretty famous I want to say that he did it either for Sports Center or ESPN or one of those. But Joe Rogan went on and, you know, went head to head with like a boxing analyst, basically just explaining to him, like, look, MMA in actuality is the sport of real fighting.
Right.
If things were to play out and in a real actual fight, you can't just be boxing. You got to know a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think that was either Bob Arum or Lou DiBella that he was,
I
talking
think
to.
Lou DiBella sounds right because I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
it was not Bob Arum.
okay. Yeah, it was probably Lou
Yeah.
DiBella then. But yeah, I remember that because I was like, "Yeah, fucking get him, Joe." Alright, so one more thing to cover, and the Twitter beefs are strong these days, and, Connor's gotta get mixed up in it. So, uh, him and
I
Matt
hadn't even
Brown.
seen this yet.
Yeah, him and Matt Brown went back and forth because somebody posted that Matt Brown has like the most KOs in the cage overall or some shit like that. Um
Which I
actually let
think is
me
true, right?
yeah, no, it's definitely a stat right now. It says Matt Brown at 42 years of age now holds the joint highest KOs inside the UFC with 13. Him and Derek Lewis are tied. Uh and then it
Derek Lewis
says
did that quick.
yeah. And it said, Conor says, I hold 8 KOs inside the UFC currently at age 34 years of age. I'm getting this record. So Matt Brown said, I'll fight you for it. And then there was a headline saying Matt Brown tells Conor McGregor to come get it for the knockout record. Conor says, woeful attempt. And then he says, Matt Brown, heroin addict, because Matt Brown is a recovering heroin addict. He was on heroin back in the day. I think he OD'd and died once or twice. Crazy shit. So that's why he's the immortal, Matt the Immortal Brown, because he actually died once or twice, I think. For sure once, but maybe multiple times from ODs, which was insane. So Matt Brown says, this guy woke up, did a bump, and started tweeting. I love it. I don't know how to post gifs and shit. Wouldn't be hard to find one of him getting his face smashed. LOL. So, Matt Brown coming with the fire. So yeah, and then it continued. Because Matt Brown was in an interview, I think on a podcast or something, and he said about Conor, he said he was amazing. I give him all the props for all that he did. All past tense words, by the way. He said, at this point, he's a bum. You can headline that, and it won't be bullshit. Conor, I think he's lost like 4 of his last 5. He hasn't fucking done nothing. Everything you see, it's him drinking or getting coked up, or he's juiced out of his mind. That's fucking bum life to me. All that money don't make you not a bum. You're still a bum to me, bro. When you step in the cage, you're still a fucking bum to me. So Matt Brown just spitting that fire. And I mean, he's got every reason to right now, because everything he's saying is not untrue, unfortunately. And, Dana went on the post-fight press conference last week after the Vegas fight, and was talking about how it's difficult to get these guys that have a lot of money to have because he was asked about Conor and Chandler fighting and when it was going to be, because there hasn't been an announcement. So he was like, oh, it's hard to wrangle these guys in when they got all this money and blah, 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 blah. He's like, I got so many people that are coming up wanting to be the next Conor, hungry for it, ready for it. We don't know who of them it's going to be, but, and he's trying to like skirt the attention.
Which is code for USADA
Conor
needs him to be in the testing pool for a certain amount of time, and he just barely entered into it.
So when he entered it, he's got to be in for at least 6 months and have 2 consecutive clean tests. So the 2 tests shouldn't be hard if they start testing him and he's clean, right? That should be over with right away, but he still has to go through with the 6 months of testing. So you can't just get the 2 tests and be done. It has to be 2 consecutive and the 6 months. So, that would put him at the end of the year, basically. And November is usually when they do the Madison Square Garden event in New York. So that's what everybody was thinking. They're going to aim for getting Conor on that. Well, who knows? And then are they going to wait till December? December is usually a big card too. Or are they going to wait until next year because UFC 300 is coming up? Of course, Conor's going to be a massive fight and a massive draw. Are they going to push it and push it and push it until about April when I think it's about April when UFC 300 should be here, because we're at 289 right now. So if they try and just keep making excuses, pushing it, they'll probably fake an injury. Something's going to happen and they'll keep pushing it. But I don't know if Chandler is down to wait that long. That's going to be the money fight for him. But is he going to wait that long? He's used to being pretty fucking active. And I think he's getting up to the end of his career. So I don't know that he's going to want to wait that long.
It's hard to say. Just from my point of view, I think Chandler was excited about the prospect of fighting McGregor, just because it's a big fight, a lot of eyes. But I think the cash that comes from that, just from your shared pay-per-views, all that kind of stuff, it's a big fight. I don't see him wanting to get away from that or trying to put that in jeopardy, which sucks because it kind of holds up a division when you have these 2 guys that to my knowledge, I think, is Conor ranked in the contendership at all as far as like, no, because he's been out that long,
right?
But yeah, Chandler's like up there. He's got to be either 3, 4, or 5, somewhere in there.
I don't know if he's that high. Actually, he might. I think he's definitely in the top 10. I don't think he's up that high though. I could probably look it up, but I don't think he's up that high. because his record's been a lot of people talk about his record
Yeah.
not being very good in the UFC.
Well, I
Um,
think, yeah, they just talked about, like, obviously he's had 3 pretty high profile losses, but they've been to the guys that, are the upper echelon of the division. So, I think he's in one of those positions where it's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to chase the money fight or do you want the title fight? Because I think Chandler's in a situation too where if he doesn't do the Connor fight, he could probably fight a higher ranked contender than him, potentially win that, and arguably be like, hey, let me get a title shot.
he's ranked number 6. So yeah,
Okay, so just out
yeah.
of the top five.
Yeah, I thought maybe he would be like 8, 7 or 8 or something. I didn't know he was all the
Makes
way up
sense.
at
Yeah,
6,
for
but
sure.
it does. Um, so yeah, anyway, that's that. Twitter beefs all over the place, so, and I knew some of
Trigger
it would
fingers
get.
turn to Twitter fingers.
Yep, and I knew that we would have plenty to talk about with those few, so that's why I wanted to touch on that. We'll move on to some, Tough 31 action because this past week was the second episode of the Ultimate Fighter 31, and, I wasn't doing this show before when the Ultimate Fighter was on, so now that I am, I kinda wanna go through it, so I'll probably have updates every week. It's been pretty good so far. The first 2 episodes are not too bad. Nothing crazy explosive or anything like that, but, entertaining, and they're doing a decent job. Connor always gives you something to talk about, and I mean that he's carrying the show because Chandler is kind of a calm guy when he's not in the cage.
Yeah, he's been real quiet in there. And from the coaching standpoint, both of these guys, like, obviously Connor's down, 0-2, which
Yep.
is interesting because from what I've seen so far on the show, it does seem like he's been very involved with coaching, which you would think because of like his lifestyle and all the different things that he has going on that he wouldn't be that involved. But from what I've saw, like he's been with the gloves on, sparring, like all those different type of things. Um I
Except for the weigh-ins,
Yeah.
he doesn't
Well,
show
and
up
then
to
it
the
helps
fucking
that
weigh-ins.
that he has a couple of his boys that are on the show
Yep.
that, took the spots of some other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's been interesting to kind of see um that side of him. I think like all you see nowadays from him is like the headlines and the money and the I'm on a yacht and all that kind of things. But
Boats and
it's kind
hoes.
of cool to see that he's in yeah, exactly. Kind of cool to see him like in there doing his thing and relating to other fighters and trying to, help. It kind of
Yeah.
humanizes him a little bit. And then, dude, Chandler, that dude's a stand-up guy, man. Like he's probably one of my favorite current fighters. Like in this last show, like he had like a pretty as far as fighting shows go, like a pretty touching moment with another fighter that was
Cody
adopted. And
Gibson.
yeah, for people that
Yeah.
don't know, you know uh I think Chandler now has 2 adopted kids. So
Yep.
they kind of were talking about that and just like, that impact that it's had on their lives and stuff like that. So really cool stuff to watch from them. And, Chandler, dude, his team is fucking stacked. Like the
Oh,
guys
yeah.
that he has in there showing these kids or no, veterans too. The guys that he has like teaching these veterans are awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Ryan
funny too
Bader.
how like yeah, they just bring up like Ryan Bader is just the name, and like for people that don't know, Ryan Bader is like a big time fighter. He just doesn't fight for the UFC, so
He's a
they're not
Bellator
trying to put
champion.
up his accolades and
Yeah.
all that stuff that he's been doing. But yeah, Ryan Bader is a very highly decorated fighter
Oh, yeah, and he was
and a
highly.
fellow Arizonan.
Yep, and he was highly ranked in the UFC as well, so, yeah, for them of course, they're not gonna give him his shine, but, it is what it is. But, I think, Clark was talking about The Ultimate Fighter because he said, "Heartbreaking again, damn one-rounders," but, that's because the first fight. Oh, yeah, I forgot. So, there's a story behind this guy cutting Connor's hair because this guy's a barber, I guess, and Connor I guess he was cutting dude's hair in the house, and he told Connor that he was going to give him a haircut if he would let him. And I guess Connor, like this is like you were saying, something to show that Connor's a bit human, and he actually like went in there, trusted him to do it, especially since he's always getting his picture taken somewhere, doing something, or he's on social media recording himself. So for him to just let this dude cut his hair without knowing, for sure how it's going to be, it's pretty cool of him.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and his hair looked good afterwards. So I mean, right here it doesn't look that great, but they're in the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But the
He
main thing
definitely
that
he knew a lot more about what to do with them clippers than he did in that cage. He's got knocked
uh,
the fuck out.
yeah, unfortunately. So this was supposed to be the fight that happened, which was Timur Valuev, I think his name is.
Another Dagestani cat.
Yeah, against Trevor Wells. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh and I kept getting his name confused. I kept wanting to call him Willis. I don't know why I kept saying the last name of Willis. Anyway, homeboy in the blue there, Wells, he had a cold sore, as you could see on his face right there. And
Yep.
I don't know if it really was a cold sore, or maybe they were worried it was staph, or maybe they thought he had herpes. I don't know.
They were
But
they were commenting on how, like, with like new mats and stuff like that, sometimes that could happen, and
yeah. I
you
mean, it
know,
could be Matt Burn. I mean, who knows? But either way, they didn't allow him to fight. They said he wasn't medically cleared. So the fight that wound up happening was Cody Gibson versus Mondo Gutierrez, who is the barber that was cutting Connor's hair. And well, unfortunately for Gutierrez, he got knocked the fuck out by Cody Gibson, who's a vet,
yep,
fought in the UFC before. Now, if you don't know, if you haven't been watching, Michael Chandler has the red team has all the vets, and the teal colored team, which is Connor's team, has all the prospects. I don't know that I find this to be very fair, to say the least. But there is some of those prospects that have more fights than some of the vets. So
yeah,
kind
absolutely.
of weird.
Well,
But
I think I remember, didn't like this the Tough series where I think it was, wasn't it like Matt Serra ended up winning, and then that's when he ended up
it
beating
was a comeback
GSP after
season.
that? Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it kind of gives me that similar vibe to how that season went. And like, dude, the
Except
veterans, yeah, so far 2-0, man. Like, something to be said about experience.
yeah. Well, and that comeback season was a bunch of ex UFC fighters, or fighters that were kind of on a losing streak that they gave a second chance to. And, that was Matt Serra. He was kind of, wishy washy record, fucking losing a lot. And they were like, second chance type stuff. And then,
Yep.
they fought for the to be able to fight for the title at the end. They got a title fight. And that's how Matt Serra beat GSP. So, but this is Connor with that was Mondo Gutierrez's hat. That's what he walked out with, and fucking
That
Connor.
almost
He
looks
put
photoshopped.
it does. And what's funny, because I saw it initially, I was like, "What the fuck is Connor wearing?" And then I realized that it was Mondo's hat, and he put it on Connor, which is again says a lot about Connor. He's a high profile, real fashion oriented person, and then he lets his dude, his one of the guys on his team, put this hat on him, and he leaves it. He's like, the whole fight he had the hat on. After the fight, he's pissed off. He didn't even take the hat off. So
Mhm.
it's kind of crazy. It's one of those things like you're saying. It's nice to see that side of Connor. I think he'd be a really good coach. I just don't think he could hold it together to stay a good coach, because as soon as he's done fully fighting, it's gonna be balls to the wall on whatever else he's doing, unless he cleans it up before then and keeps it that way. But he does seem to be pretty into coaching and wanting guys to see what he does and try to mimic it to get
Yeah.
him to be good.
Well, if all the things that he has going on, I mean, it's all stems from fighting. And say what you say about like the out of the octagon antics and the headlines and just all the craziness that surrounds him nowadays. At the end of the day, you could tell he really like he says it in the show, like, this is my game. Dude, he really does have a love for the sport. And he credit to him, man. Like I said, it's humanizing him a bit because he's doing his thing with these prospects.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately though, he is 0-2. So the record right now, 0-2 for Connor and 2-0 for Michael Chandler. It's one fight in each division so far, and uh yeah, that'd be their records. But also, the other unfortunate thing is the views are down from the first time that Connor was on the show. Now, take into consideration that Conor McGregor was the fucking notorious when he was on the show the first time.
Yep.
And, he didn't even fight Uriah Faber. He was just the coach. It's like one of the first times they had done a full season without the coaches fighting at the end.
I
But
think they've already talked about how, at some point during the show, Chandler and Conor get into it, and then that
Yeah.
kind of changes the dynamic of how things are going to look. Once it gets to that point, I think, the viewership and all that stuff will go up. And I'm actually kind of surprised to hear that the ratings or whatever are down, because, Conor usually is really good about bringing those eyes. But I
Right.
think, people, dude, I love the UFC and the fighting sports, and dude, I have not paid attention to the Ultimate Fighter in forever.
Right.
And it's a testament to Connor, because the one of the only reasons why I was paying attention to this one was because he was on it. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure. And this is just the ratings for the first episode. It says 622,000 for the premiere episode. That's the average viewers for the premiere episode of the first season he was on with Uriah Faber. And then this season, the premiere episode average viewers was 294,000. So it's well under half. But
yeah,
also how many people go back and watch just clips on social media? Well, how many people go back and just watch shit on YouTube? But it is on linear TV. It's on ESPN, the actual station. It's not just on ESPN Plus. So they thought they were going to get more viewers because of that, and I think that's why this is kind of a downer.
yeah.
Um, Aren't those the live views or total? I don't know, Clark, actually. This is just what they're saying that the average viewer uh for these were. And I mean, I looked it up somewhere else and they didn't really get into it. It's just kind of, it's the headline. The viewership is down. So
Yeah.
that's what they're saying. But that might be a testament to the fact that it's the 31st fucking season of the Ultimate Fighter and they haven't really changed it up.
I
They
would think
haven't really
viewership for
done.
everything would be down, though, because nowadays it's like, dude, I got a job. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out there working. I'll watch like this stuff when I can, and go and stream it, but I'm not watching like when they're debuting the episodes and all that kind of stuff. So I think
Yeah.
all that stuff is different nowadays as to when it was when he was originally on the show with Uriah Faber.
Yeah, and there was all kinds of shit going down then because that was the whole TJ Dillashaw uh drama with Team Alpha Male. Cody Garbrandt was in that house fucking trying to fight Connor and shit. It was
Yep.
crazy. There was a lot of shit going on. So and Michael Chandler's definitely not that type. Uriah Faber seems chill and shit, but you get him talking shit and he's like a real smug fucking little prick. Like he starts saying shit and you think he's joking and then you realize he ain't
Yep.
joking and him and his flip-flops get on your nerves real quick. And that butt chin, it just starts clapping at you. And yeah, that's just oh, Clark was agreeing with you. He said times are different too, because population go watch it in their own. Oh yeah, so he's saying just not live, basically. Yeah, because you can just kind of stream it whenever you want, really, especially because it's on ESPN Plus. You got DVR, you can just, like I said, go watch highlights and shit. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll see what happens when the season progresses a little more. But the fights have been exciting so far. Two big
Yeah,
knockouts.
absolutely.
So, moving on though, let's recap a little bit of last week's event. It wasn't a big one. It wasn't crazy exciting, but it wasn't horrible either. So, we had Kai Kara France versus Albazi. I always forget his fucking first name. I think it's Amir Albazi. Uh, his picture's kind of creepy on this
Yeah.
poster. And this is a fucking bunk ass poster. Like this looks like something that I made and not
Yeah.
something that a professional graphics artist made. Like what the fuck? Talk about lazy, man. And I'm not saying that everything I do is lazy. I put work into my shit, but I don't get paid to do
Yeah,
it.
this is
These
supposed to be
motherfuckers
the
get
pros.
paid. Yeah, what the fuck? And I mean, Albazi's picture almost looks AI generated. It's
Yeah.
like those new pictures you're seeing all over the place. But
Now,
yeah,
and this
anyway.
this main event had some controversy to it, right?
It definitely did. We'll get to that too in just a few. There was I wanted to just cover a couple other ones before we get there. There wasn't a whole lot going on in the prelims, except for unfortunately Andrei Arlovsky, who set a not set a record, but hit as one of the highest
I
fight.
believe he did set a record, though. I think him stepping in was a record for most in heavyweight.
Oh, in heavyweight, yes. Not
Yeah,
overall though,
history.
because Jim Miller's it has the record for overall
Yeah.
fights. So two of the guys with the records for the highest fights in highest amount of fights in the UFC. With Andrei Arlovsky has 40 now, and he's how old? 44, I think, or some shit like that. And
Now, is
Jim
he going to
Miller,
continue too?
I don't know, but he took a loss and it was by TKO and it was not pretty. So, I don't know. He always says that he's not done every time. No matter how bad he gets knocked out, he says he's not done.
It's
So,
tough with these heavyweight cats, man. Like
it is.
you can't fuck up in there, man, because they just have to tap you, dude, and it's over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Andre's been knocked out a
a
lot.
lot. Back in the day when he was young, he was getting knocked out. In the middle, he was getting knocked out. Now, don't get me wrong, he's knocking motherfuckers out too. But
When
he's
it's so
got
crazy because he's streaky too. Because I think the last time that he got on like a skid where he had lost a couple, all of a sudden he'll up and like put together 3, 4 wins in a row. You know,
oh yeah.
it's crazy.
That's kind of he had 4 wins in a row and now he's on a losing streak. He's got 2 losses in a row. So and then, before that he had 1 loss. It was 2 wins, 1 loss, 4 wins, 2 losses. So yeah, it's just real streaky. And he is 44. So I don't know how much longer he's going to do it, but he likes to stay in there and he's going to keep racking up those fights. It's insane. But and I think that's it on the lower card, but going into the main card, this was a nasty ass liver or not liver kick, but the fucking
Ooh.
body kick. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, that picture says it all.
Yeah, that's Elizu dos Santos. I can't say his other name.
Damn.
Against Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov, and dos Santos got that win by split decision. So this kick was significant, but it wasn't an ender or anything like that. But then you get into some nasty shit because this is Karine Silva versus Ketlin Souza. Yeah, that leg, man.
Oh,
That is fucking
yeah, legs aren't
rough.
supposed to do that.
Oh, Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
no.
And you know what?
Oh.
Let's make it a little worse by slow-mowing and getting in
Ah.
there. Oh my god, dude. Now, I don't think it broke. I think it just got, like, dislocated or whatever, because she did, like, you know oof, goddamn. That's tough to watch, man.
That didn't break?
I don't think it fully broke, no. Um
I guess, yeah, the fact that she pulled away and was able to still bend that thing.
Yeah, but I mean, that definitely hurt. I don't think
Ooh.
it broke. I could be wrong, but I think I heard that it didn't even break. So that's. Ooh, I had to show that one, but it hurts to watch, and it just keeps going. So I'm gonna move on. Let's go to Tim Elliott. Got a win by unanimous decision against Victor Altamirano. But yeah, Tim Elliott. I don't know if anybody paid attention last week when I talked about his kind of nasty divorce he's going through right now. But yeah, there was some drama behind that, and everyone thought he was gonna come out like a fucking madman and kick the shit out of this fool. And he did work, but he did fight smart, so that's good. Because sometimes you come out there too emotional with some shit like that going on in the background, and then you get knocked out, and that would talk about salt in a wound. But he got the win by unanimous decision. He looked fairly decent, so not too bad, I guess, and good for him for getting that win in the light of all the controversy, which he's going through a divorce because his wife cheated on him with his teammate and coach, and
Oh, wow.
on top of that, he's without a head coach right now because his head coach before was James Krause, who's still involved in that investigation for fight fixing and shit.
Oh,
So
damn.
he's got a lot of shit going on in the background. And it's kind of tough, but yeah, that was that. And then shit, then we get to Jim Miller with the actual record of
Dude.
fights. Yeah, that was a disgusting fucking knockout, dude. Oh my god.
Shout out
In the
Jim
best
Miller,
way.
bro. You love to see
Now,
it.
for real, because Jim Miller's a badass. He's been around for so fucking long. Something that talks about how long he's been around. 42 fights in fucking the UFC alone. 36-17 for a record, but he's 39 years old, and
Yep.
I mean he's been doing it for a long fucking time. And before he was in the UFC, he had fights before that too. So Jesus, I don't even know how
And
long he's been
obviously,
fighting.
like, still evolving and perfecting this craft. Because I mean, like, look at him. He slipped that punch and threw that counter and
Oh yeah.
perfect, man.
Fast too,
Perfect.
fast. And he followed up with that right that would have knocked him the fuck out if he didn't catch him with that left. Now, to be fair, Butler was a 3-time replacement here. Jesse Butler, this is his poor guy, debut fight in the UFC, and he gets knocked the fuck out by a legend though, Jim Miller. And there was Jared Gordon was the initial replacement because he was Jim Miller. I mean, did I say Jared Gordon? It was like I forget who the fucking first opponent was, but that guy dropped out, and then Ludovic Klein was the initial opponent for Jim Miller. Then it went to Jared Gordon, who killed his chances of fighting by talking about his concussion that he had fucking 6 weeks before. He can't fight after having a concussion 6 weeks ago. So he screwed himself on that one. So then they had to find another last-minute replacement, and they found this guy, Jesse Butler. And
do you know how long Jesse had to prepare for this?
Dude, it was days.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was fight week, media day is when Jared Gordon fucking implemented himself in that and got himself disqualified.
UFC usually does right by people when they put him in those situations. So the fact that he was willing to step in and stuff like that, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another shot.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he will, especially because, it's Jim Miller, and that was just a tough way to debut. But for stepping in like he did with that very little time, I'm sure they'll give him another chance and see what he does. Now, if he gets knocked out again real quick, they might be like, hey, go get some more experience and shake it off and come back soon. So, that's Jim Miller, man. And look at this, just walk off with Jesse Butler in the background, just stiff. That's a
profile pic.
That's a good picture if you're Jim Miller or if you're a Jim Miller fan. So, I had to put that one in there because I was like, whew, those are those ones where you see the caption saying that's cold because it definitely is. But then the next fight was Alex Caceres, who honestly, he's been one of my, I wouldn't say like super favorite fighters, but I always like to see him fight because he made an impression on me when I first started watching MMA. And, when he came into the picture, Alex Caceres with the nickname of Bruce Leroy, he used to come in with the yellow jumpsuit, from that movie and shit. It was cool. And he always is like super animated and shit. So these days he's real Zen-like and he's a different kind of dude now, but he's still throwing hands and winning fights because he got that win by decision over Daniel Pineda. And that's a nasty punch right there that connected. Yeah. And Pineda looked like... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, funny enough, I did Josh like that one time.
And afterwards you said, show enough.
Exactly.
Oh, shit. That's hilarious. Then moving on to the main event. The controversy here is the fact that Amir Albizi beat Kai Kara-France by decision. It was a split decision, and it was a horrible decision because I have the scorecards here in just a second. Obviously, I always want to highlight a little bit of the action. That's Albizi and Kara-France just going back and forth. Kai landed the stats. The stats tell you everything, and here they are. He had total strikes 122 to 65, significant strikes 89 to 51, head strikes 60 to 40, body 11 to 5, legs 18 to 6, total control. Now Albizi had the control time down, but that doesn't really matter when it comes down to the actual, overall perspective. 2 for 2 on takedowns and no submission attempts, but I mean, Albizi was 1 for 9 in takedowns. So pretty much the overall perspective is Kai Kara-France won when you look at the stats. But then you look at the fucking scorecards, and you got two of these guys giving rounds to Albizi that it wasn't. Now, I heard Kai Kara-France took round 4 off because he figured I'm up by 3 rounds. I could take a round off and bring the fucking shit when it comes to the 5th round. And a lot of people said that it was kind of confirmed a bit that was the thought process because they figured we're up by 3 rounds. And nah, they gave Albizi the 4th round, or they gave Albizi the 4th, or they gave Kai Kara-France. What was it? It was something. Oh yeah. So 2 of the 3 judges gave Kai Kara-France the 4th round, which that just tells you right there what was wrong with all this.
Yeah. So now it might have been you that shared it that I saw, but I saw something recently where, and it escapes me who it was that I think it is either a tweet or someone doing an interview, but they were saying like they need to do something where these judges get held accountable for these shit ass decisions that they're making. Cause
Yep.
like yeah, how does a scorecard look like that when the stats look like that? It doesn't pan out, man. And there's no repercussions to them for that.
Yeah, and I did post that because Israel Adesanya was
There
the
we
one
go.
that
Yeah.
was he was the one that was saying, man, and everyone was saying it because and here's the thing, they can be held accountable and they can talk in circles or in any interview or whatever. I think more than anything, more judges need to be trained better. I think there needs to be more judges judging the fight, like at least 5. And I think the scoring system sucks. So,
Exactly.
reg-
I was just gonna say that they should overhaul the scoring system.
yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is I think we need to start there. But they also have stupid corrupt judges that favor people left and right. Now, a lot of people talk about having ex-fighters judging and stuff like that, but you got to understand that a lot of these fighters are mixed up with these guys personally because they trained with them, they fought them and now they're friends. The biggest thing is the training or now they're coaches to some of these guys. So you can't
Yep.
really put a lot of these or they have beef from with these guys from back in the day and they're still holding a grudge. So, you can't really put ex fighters on there that have been in the UFC and stuff like that. I don't think that would work. I just think there needs to be better training, the revamp of the scoring system. And I think that, I've heard a lot of people talk about getting the judges out of the arena or putting like headphones on them, noise canceling, so that and not listening to the commentators, but maybe just
Exactly.
in silence, or maybe just watching it on a TV somewhere else. There's a lot of people bag on on them because they're looking at their phone or something like that, but a lot of times they're watching the fight. Like they have to watch it from you can't see everything from the vantage point that they're at, which is
Hmm.
unfortunate because that's another fucking problem. They should be watching it where they can see every little bit of the action. And I think the only and best way to do that is to watch it on TV because they get every angle. Like you hardly
Yep.
miss anything when you watch it on TV. When you watch, I don't know if you ever been to a fight in person, but it's tough. It's tough. Even if you're close up, you got posts in the way, the cage is in the way. There's all kinds of fucking obstacles.
Well, it's like the announcers have monitors and stuff like that too. So
Yep,
why wouldn't you give those to judges if they do not have them already? Because I
exactly.
think you nailed it on the head. It's like if you're not able to see anything, then how can you act? Or if you're not able to see everything, how are you accurately judging anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and if they're on their side facing the opposite direction, how the fuck do you know what's happening? You know what I
Yep.
mean? Yeah, you
Exactly.
saw who took who down, but how do you know who's getting a submission attempt? How do you know who's putting in the significant strikes on the ground? How do you know any of that shit? You don't know any of it. So, yeah, there's
Yep.
just a big revamp that needs to happen with MMA. It's not boxing. There's ground game and there's takedowns and there's rolling, jiu-jitsu, all that shit. So you can't do it the way that you do it in boxing. In boxing, you can see almost everything because they're standing all the time. And if you don't see something that happens, you're going to see somebody get thrown back from a punch.
Yep.
That's just how it works. So, yeah, it was a bad scorecard, one of the worst ones but they've been happening a lot more often and it just kind of sucks. And Kai Car France said, "Hey, they cost me 100 grand. I would have got 100 grand had I won the fight, because these guys fight for a win and win and show money. They
Yep.
get money to show, but they also get money to win, and he didn't get it. So that's what sucks. It's half a paycheck. They need to watch it separately away from the other judges as well. Oh yeah, that's a good point too, Clark. I mean, he's saying that they need to watch it separately and not around other judges. But
Yeah.
I don't know that they're allowed to really talk to each other about it, like, as they're doing their scorecards, but
No,
who
they
knows?
can't.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I think the crowd influences them, the commentators influence them, they need to watch it with no sound, and they need to watch it somewhere away from the stadium or up in a box somewhere watching it on TV, and then throw the scores, It's like baseball does replays from,
Yep.
wherever the fuck they do it from, same with football. So, I just think that needs to happen.
Is it the commissions that assigns the judges?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So now we'll get to the meat of the stuff here because we're getting up on time. And yeah, like I always think I need to add more stuff in to talk about, but we get on and that's what's good about having
We
guests.
get
We
rolling
start,
with our tangents.
yeah, and then we have a lot to talk about. But we got this pay-per-view coming up, and that's the biggest event of the weekend, I think. UFC 289. It's not like the biggest, baddest card, but I think it's gonna be good. Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana, and Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. The rest of the card is not half bad itself, but it's not like the greatest, and that's why in the thumbnail I said, "Is it worth the $80?" Because you know it's tough when
Yeah.
you have a very dominant champ like Amanda Nunes. She's such a big favorite. There's a lot of questions swirling everything, and we'll get into that when we get down to the top of the card. But
This definitely
you know,
seems like one that you go and watch at the bar as opposed to ordering at home.
yeah,
From what I see.
unless you're me. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I because I get all of them. Clark says Oliveira. Oh, Oliveira's the underdog. Is that what you're saying, Mister Better? Get your wording right. He said Oliveira's unfavored. I got to give you shit, Clark. But yeah, Oliveira is the underdog, which is kind of crazy. But Nunez is like a big favorite from what I have seen. But
And rightfully so.
yeah, definitely. Some of the notable names on the undercard. It's not a big card either. There was a lot of cancellations. Um and
Yeah,
it's
I
in
wanna say it was like
Canada.
4 of them or something like that, right?
Yeah. And it's in Canada, which is weird because it's not headlined by a Canadian fighter. I think there's only 5 Canadian fighters out of the entire card, and there's like 15 or no, there's like 13 fights or something.
Mhm.
Let's see. No, there's only 11 fights. Holy shit. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
real
some
small
of them
card.
got canceled.
Yeah,
And I wanna say there was it was either 1 or 2 of them got canceled, like, within the last couple days or something like that. Like, it
right.
was pretty short notice.
Yeah. So just till Pena comes back. Okay. That's what Clark said. I'm assuming he thinks Pena can beat Nunez again, but I don't know about that.
Well,
Uh
I think originally this was supposed to be against
it
Pena, but
was.
she's hurt for
I think she has
you
a
know what's happened?
knee injury or a back injury,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
So the only noticeables at the bottom are Miranda Maverick versus Jasmine Jasvidius Vicious. Yeah, something like that. She's one of the
Jazzy
Canadian. Yeah. And then you got Nasruddin Imavov versus Chris Curtis. That should be pretty good. That's at the top of the prelim card. Oh, broken rib. Clark said, "Damn." See,
Dang.
Clark did his homework and he's not even on here.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I knew it was
He you
something.
know, he should do the podcast one of
I
these
know,
times.
right? Maybe sometime I can have you on here, Clark, since you know so much. I'm sure he's sitting there like fuckers.
Exactly.
Yeah. First fight on the main card though is Marc Andre Baralt versus Eric Anders. So Baralt, like I said, is one of the few actual Canadian fighters on the card. Um, I don't know much about him. I think I might have seen him fight once, but uh, he is coming off a win, and he hasn't fought too many big names, so that's probably why I don't
Yeah.
know much about him. He's just one of
It's
those
kinda
guys.
crazy to see such a subdued card in Canada because normally, like, they get pretty big fights and, like, the crowd there is always crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
there are
always all about it.
definitely big fight fans in Canada.
And especially when you profile those big Canadian names, but I think that's the thing. There's not a lot of big Canadian fighters right now. What's
Yeah.
big right now are the Mexican fighters, which we'll talk about here in a minute because there's a lot of Mexican title holders and there might be another. So,
Mhm.
but back to this fight, we got Eric Anders or Anders or Anders. I don't remember because there's a debate on how the fuck you say his name. I think he says Anders, so I'll go with that. But that's a nasty kick with it was almost an illegal kick, but that dude lifted his hand in
Yep.
time. I think he just got lucky. But he's a fucking beast when he's on. And he's coming off a win against Kyle Dawkins, which, that's an opponent there that isn't an easy win. So,
Dude, it would suck so bad to just have to live in that GIF forever. Like, that poor dude that
oof,
got knocked out, I was like,
I
"Really?"
know. He's like, quit
this is what's
playing this
happening.
shit. Yeah. So, you got two guys that are, oh, Jesus, what did I do here? You got two guys that are pretty good strikers going against each other. And that's the first fight on the card. Then we move on to Dan Ige, 50K Ige, because he won so many fucking bonuses. He gave himself that name, which I thought was kind of
Nice.
funny. Against Nate the Train Landwehr. This dude is crazy. I don't know if you've seen this guy. I watched the press
He
conference
looks
earlier.
like a crazy dude.
He is. He's fucking hilarious. He if you heard him, you would think he's a black dude because he's got that kind of tone in his voice and the way he talks. It's funny. I don't even know where he's from, but he's hilarious and he's just always trying to get everybody hyped up. And dude, people like him, so it's working for him. But Dan Ige's not an easy out, that's for sure. Even though it kind of looked like he
Damn.
yeah, he's got heavy hands. It's a nasty knockout right there. Just straight down the middle. Landwehr, though, was like the one trying to get everybody hyped and talking a bunch. But dude, when they got serious, it was like he got these eyes. His just full face just changed. Super serious. Ige's the same way. And they're just like, they're ready to go, man. I think this is going to be one of the better fights on the card. Because they both come out there swinging. Dan Ige's coming off a win to Damon Jackson. Which I believe was a pretty damn good fight.
And then more often than not, like these little sleeper cards that don't really feature like a lot of like the bigger name guys, those are usually the cards where people go off and like they have really exciting fights.
Definitely. And yeah, that every time you think it's gonna be a shitty card, it's like,
Yeah, it
we just
always
got
pans
some of
out
the
that
best
way.
fights. Yeah. But Nate, he also has the train fucking tattooed on his chest, which I think is funny as hell. But he's on a 3-fight win streak. His last fight being against Austin Lingo. So I think I just think it's gonna be a good fight, man. I don't know how it couldn't be. Both these guys come out here and ready to bang, and I think it's gonna be damn good. I'm trying to see. No, never mind. It doesn't say. That sucks. I wanted to see where Nate Landwehr was from, but it doesn't say. But that's all right. He's fucking cool when you hear him talk.
Memphis, Tennessee, right now.
Let's go move on to Mike Malott versus Adam, another fucking weird name, Fugit. Which
Fugit.
You're like, is it Fugit or Fugit or what is it? But it is Fugit. I heard him say it earlier. But Mike Malott is going to be the last Canadian fighter on this card. He's going to be the last one to fight, so he's got to go out there and put a show on because he's their biggest name, I guess, out there right now. And
he was talking about it in Embedded, how he was like banking on having like that hometown advantage going into his fight. So we'll see if it pans out that way.
And he's talking about how he was there watching George St. Pierre versus, I forgot what fight it was, but he said that he kept telling himself that one day he'd be down there fighting in that cage in Canada, and now's his time. So he's got to go out there and put on a good show. So hopefully he does. He's 9-1, and he is coming off a win. Looks like he's undefeated in the UFC. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He's one of those guys from the Contender Series. So he's got to keep that undefeated record in the UFC. And then Fugit is, that's just a weird last name, and it doesn't even look like that dude should have that last name. But he's coming off a win as well. He's 1-1 in the UFC, so this is only his third fight in the UFC. It looks like he was a multi-title holder in a bunch of different organizations because he's got all kinds of belts.
I was going to say, he's got to have like some credentials if they're putting him up against a guy that's 2-0 in the UFC. So
looks like he was in the LFA before, which is probably the most notable organization. That's kind of like a feeder league for the UFC.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Oh, I had to show. Shit. Yeah, that's Fugit. I went out of order here, so I'm gonna have to fix this because I forgot Mike Malott. Let me get to this picture real quick. Jesus Christ, he's just raining down those elbows. It's insane. But Mike Malott's got some heavy hands too. So there could be some fireworks in this one behind the ear and then on the chin. Like, you're going out on that for sure. That's a good combination there. And then, well, there's the crazy elbows again. So, yeah, I always like to, showcase something good that they're both doing. Now we get to the meat of the event. Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. Who you going for in this fight? Do you have a favorite?
So, I I'm not really too emotionally invested in either of these guys. Like, I respect Charles Oliveira for the things that he's done. You know, I never saw him as being a guy that was going to be champion one day, and I mean, to his credit, he pulled it off. Um, Beneil Dariush, to me, is kind of one of those like under the radar unsung heroes. Like, I feel like people don't really talk about him or aren't too hyped about him, but he always like has good fights, and he's good. Like, the dude brings it. Like, so it'll be interesting watching the embedded series. I thought it was cool. Like, these guys have had like multiple run-ins during camp and fight week and stuff like that, and they've been totally cool with each other. Like, um, Dariush has his daughter with him, and he's just kind of like, it's crazy to me, like how mellow this dude has been leading up to what is, a pretty big fight. For Charles Oliveira, everything with him, it seems like he's like super chill, like super relaxed, which I haven't seen him that way these past couple of fights. So I'm hoping that um for his part, like that calmness and just mood is going to carry into the fight for it. Far as who I think is going to win, I'm kind of leaning towards Dariush for this fight, man.
Okay.
And I think just Charles is kind of I don't know, man. I think he's at that point that some fighters get to where like they start to kind of go on that downslope a little bit, cuz Oliveira's been doing this for a minute, man. He's been active too, so we'll see. It's going to be an
Yeah.
interesting fight either way. I did notice too that Oliveira seemed to be doing a lot more grappling training and a lot more submission stuff. So I do
Yeah.
see him trying to come out into this fight and implement a lot more of that. So
Right.
we'll see, especially
And he's
coming
always
off of his last performance.
yeah. He's always been a big on the ground, and a big jiu-jitsu player. And as far as like what he can do down there, he's definitely, but this is his first fight coming back from losing the title. So, and I don't know if he's going to be one of those guys that loses a title and just can never get back to it. But this is going to be a telling fight. And
Yeah,
I feel like, getting submitted in his last fight, that's probably why he's down there training, hoping to not ever get back to that, especially losing his belt off of that when he is so fluent in jujitsu and so dominant in jujitsu, and then to get, tapped out and lose your belt that way, that's gotta
exactly.
be
Yeah,
pretty
I
harsh.
don't think that sits well with him at all.
Yeah. But I mean, he's got those fucking strikes. Um, we've seen it against, of all people, Michael Chandler,
Hmm.
nasty fucking Chandler just couldn't hang, man, after getting bombarded with all those strikes. And so, and he'll chase your ass down and
Yep.
he'll just keep hitting you. And,
Well,
that's just
Chandler
kind of,
previous to that almost finished that too. That
yeah.
was that was a
And
crazy fight.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is he gets hit a lot, and Dariush has heavy hands. That's what he's known for. Is some knockout power, you know. Uh, but Oliveira, here's another that big hit against
Boom.
Gaethje. Oh man, and then he follows it up, misses, but then he winds up getting the submission, I believe.
Yeah. And
And
Gaethje's
yeah,
got a
that
head like a rock too. So the fact that Oliveira was able to do what he did to him, I mean, that speaks
to
a
knock
lot
him
to the
down like
power that
that.
Oliveira has. As yeah.
For sure. I mean, it's just a clean shot, and obviously he's got some power behind it to not. I mean, he hit him on the button, right on the chin,
Hmm.
and then of course he wraps up that fucking with those long limbs of his. He's got to be good at wrapping people up and sinking in that choke. So, but like I said, Dariush with those heavy hands, big knockout power. He doesn't look like he can knock your ass out, but he definitely
Boom.
can. Yeah, I mean, he just knocked his ass silly right there. But,
Yep.
with this crazy spinning back elbow too, like, he comes up with some shit out of nowhere, but he's his own worst enemy, though. Like, he went his after his last I think it was his last fight, where he went on the mic and was like, I don't care if I gotta fight 10 more times before I get the title fight, I will get the title fight. And it's like, dude, don't say that, man. You're just saying
Yeah,
right now
exactly.
that it's okay to give you 10 more fights before you fucking that's just not smart. So he's not a good talker. So, the fact that he does this in the cage is his saving grace. And he's on a big win streak. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row.
Wow.
So,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, and if he wins this one, I mean, it's kind of undeniable that he should be in line to have that title shot for sure.
yeah, definitely. And, especially with Oliveira coming off of losing the title, if he comes back and beats the former champ that was a champ not too long ago, says a lot for him. So we'll see if he could pull that off. So
Now
then we
you
get to
haven't
the
made a pick for that one though. So what are you thinking
oh,
for that one?
I thought I did. I'm gonna go with Oliveira. I think he's gonna come back and try to make a run to get his belt back and get that win back or get that loss back.
Hmm.
So I think he's gonna. I don't know if Dariush can put up a good enough fight. I think if Oliveira can keep from taking that flush shot that puts him out, but he gets hit a lot. That's why I
Yeah.
thought I said it, because I said he gets hit a lot and he really does. But he can also take the damage. So if he holds up and if he gets hit and holds up, I think he's gonna pull out the win, probably by submission. But
Hmm.
how long it takes, I don't know. And
All right.
it's a toss up, but I am going for Oliveira. I don't know. There's something about Dariush I don't like very much. I don't know what it is about him. There's something about him I don't like very. I respect him
Yeah.
as a fighter. I
No,
think he's a great fighter.
it's funny because I know exactly what you mean. Like, you don't have to explain it any more than that. Like, I think it's weird, like, where some guys kind of have like this, like, magnetism where you just want to pay attention. I think Dariush kind of has like the opposite of that for whatever reason.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's something about I just don't like his face or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, main event. This is a big title fight here. Amanda Nunes versus, I guess it's Irene Aldana, but I just say Irene because I'm not trying to fucking
Yes.
hit my Mexican roots that much. Jesus Christ. I heard people calling her Irene, and I'm like, that just sounds bad. It's
Yeah.
Irene, whatever. But yeah, this should be interesting because, as I was saying earlier, the Mexican fighters are fucking big right now. Brandon Moreno, champ in the what is that? The featherweight I'm sorry, the flyweight division.
Yeah.
We got Alexa Grasso just beat Shevchenko, which was like nobody thought Shevchenko could get beat for a long time, and Grasso just beat her to win
Hmm.
that. What is that? That's not bantamweight. It's that's flyweight as
Yeah.
well. And then Yair Rodriguez is an interim title holder right now for the lightweight division. Or uh,
And that's her training partner too, right?
who's training partner?
The
Ale-
Irene Aldana, she's training partners with the champ.
Alexa Grasso. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so everyone's saying like, is this the rise of the Mexican fighters right now? Just like Canada's had their rise with GSP and a couple other guys. Brazil's always had
Hmm.
big name fighters and champs, and then you've had the African fighters with Kamaru and Izzy and fucking Francis Ngannou, and now they're like, is this the rise of the Mexican champs? They've already got three technically,
Hmm.
even though one's only an interim champ. So
Well,
I
it's
don't
hard
know.
to pick against Amanda Nunez, so
Yeah,
I,
because
I
she's the
don't I don't
GOAT.
know how I see that. Yeah,
I
and
mean, for the most part.
rightfully so, man.
Yeah,
She's dude. She's like she's honestly been kind of amazing to watch. Like, she definitely has like that big fight feel now. Anytime she steps in anything, and like, it's kind of crazy to see her like evolution from. I felt like she was like this quiet, reserved, chick, and now she's like this sort of like not outspoken, but like, out there and visual and vocal, a champion, and then running around with like her baby girl and her wife and stuff like that. It's kind of cool to see. And then she's an
definitely.
absolute fucking savage in there too. I
Big
was
time.
looking at just like her list of opponents and the people that she's beaten. It's like,
I
dude,
got something
she's
for that.
definitely the female goat. Crazy,
Yeah, her
crazy.
strength of schedule is insane. All the opponents she's had. the amount of time she's been a title holder, and she's a double champ right now. She's the
Yep.
bantamweight and featherweight champ for the women's division. So, and this is a bantamweight championship bout right here. So,
And she just came back from like what was the only bit of adversity she's had in her career, right? Like she got beat, she was able to come back and correct those mistakes and become the champion again. Like just uber impressive, man. Like,
yeah,
it
yeah, to be able to
arguably there
just
hasn't been other people that have been as dominant as her.
right. And she was hurt and stuff going into that fight with Juliana Pena, the first one. So, a lot of it got blamed on that or whatnot because she wasn't able to do a lot of the things that she's used to doing. But, regardless, she lost. But, she came back and showed why she's a true champ and made it look easy, kind of. So, I mean, unfortunately for Pena, she got hurt this time, so she couldn't come back and
Mhm.
try to prove that she deserved to hold that belt. But I'm sure there'll be another fight down the road, especially if Nunes wins this one. I'm sure Pena will be up next. So,
I did want to
um,
say this too. So obviously Amanda Nunez, heavy favorite, rightfully so. I mean, everything tells me that she should be able to win this fight and probably relatively handily. That being said, um watching the embedded series, dude, the Aldana chick, I was watching her hit pads. Dude, she's hitting the shit out of those pads. And the
yeah,
coaches and everyone was talking about she's in there knocking out not just the other girls, but the guys too. So
yeah,
it seems like she definitely has that power to be able to do some damage.
yeah. And I mean, she's not. I wouldn't say like she's bigger in the way of height when it comes
Yeah.
to Amanda. Because I watched the press conference earlier and they did a face off, and I was like, oh, I did not realize that she's that much taller. Uh,
Well,
but
height and length usually helps with strikers too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that
and
could have a part to play.
when you look at Amanda Nunes, like you're like, oh yeah, she looks like a fucking beast. But then
Hmm.
you look at Aldana, and she's kind of like,
A little
I,
unassuming.
yeah, because she doesn't look real built. Like obviously her arms look pretty toned and stuff, but she doesn't look like massive. Like she doesn't just have that big stature. She looks kind of skinny, kind of lanky a little bit because she's so tall too. I'm sure that has a lot
Exactly.
to do with it. But I mean, she's got those long limbs and she uses them like she did here. He got your dog barking.
Yeah.
She this crazy. I don't know if you saw this, that crazy liver kick, up kick in the liver, and pretty much TKOs Macy Chazon. That was it for her because she got kicked in the liver. It's just the most
Yeah, and I
weird
want to I
way.
want to say I was trying to think back of like fights that I've seen her fight at, and I think did we watch this one? I think we watched this one,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I just thought it was pretty crazy the fact that that's actually her last win. I just thought it was crazy that that was the way that she won that fight. It's fucking nuts.
Yep.
But this was back in September, so she hasn't fought since September. It's kind of been a bit, but she is on a 2-fight win streak. Yana Santos is her other win, and then her last loss being against Holly Holm. So,
Mhm.
but here's some of that KO power against Ketlin Vieira, who's a fucking beast
Oh,
too. That chick is huge, and she just knocked her the fuck out. Like, drops her and then just puts her out cold after she hits the ground. So there's some of that power right there. But then you get to the GOAT with this fucking crazy knockout of Chris Cyborg, who everyone thought was the GOAT before, and she made her look silly.
so
I
I
just
just rewatched that fight recently, and that it was just as impressive as like the first time seeing it live. Like I
yeah.
remember being hyped as shit when that
Oh,
went
yeah.
down. That was crazy.
The way I was jumping and screaming because the combinations that she put together and fucking landed, like, they were both throwing, right? But Cyborg was missing a lot, and
Yep.
Nunez caught her and then just said, "Oh, that felt good. Let me do that a few more times," and she fucking knocked her ass out,
Well,
which, I
and
mean,
Cyborg kind of works off of intimidation, and Amanda Nunez just had no fear. Like it was like they got in there, they threw once or twice, and then Amanda just kind of figured out like, nah, she don't got nothing for me, and the rest was a wrap. And you could see it in the fight. There was a moment where Cyborg got touched, and you could kind of see like that
oh,
the
shit.
essence just kind of leave her body. Like she was like,
Yep.
oh fuck.
And I thought it was crazy that, Nunes looked bigger than Cyborg, and we're used to Cyborg looking like, "Oh, shit, that chick is huge."
Yep.
And of course, there's all the jokes about her, "Oh, that's a dude." But it's
Yeah.
like, when they were in there, Nunes looked like she was bigger, and then, well, you can't forget about
She's a
her knocking
female version of
Rousey.
my boy Vanderlei.
Yeah, it's yeah. Here's Amanda Nunes knocking out Ronda Rousey. Now, unfortunately,
Yeah,
she
she
was
did.
already on the downfall on this one, but she knocked her ass silly too.
Yep.
So, as you were talking about earlier with the last 10 wins of Amanda Nunes, dude, Misha Tate, Ronda Rousey, Valentina Shevchenko, fucking
Yeah,
Raquel
that's
Pennington, Chris Cyborg, Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy, Felicia Spencer, Megan Anderson, and Juliana Pena. Those are some big names all the
that's
way up and
impressive.
down. Yeah, especially
And
taking the
some of
belt
these
from
more than
Misha.
once too, right?
Uh, well, she fought Shevchenko more than once. I think she's 1 and
Yeah.
1 with Shevchenko. I think she did beat Pennington twice, I think.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I think that might be it though. And then, well, she was supposed to fight Pena again, and she didn't because she
Yeah.
got hurt. But and then we, talking about the title reign,
Yeah. That's a
2,524
who's who
days.
list. Dude,
Yep.
it's insane. Did she
Just a bunch of legends.
Yeah.
And she's on the top. So that's
Yep.
crazy. But this is just the longest combined UFC reigns. This is just the amount of time that they've held the belt, which is impressive regardless. But you know,
And
it's
it's
just a
crazy
count
because,
of
like,
days.
looking at that list, right, and the who's who of people that are on there, like, quickly off the top of my head, trying to analyze who these guys have fought and everything like that. Like, when you talk about, like, the strength of opponents and how active you are and stuff like that. I mean, like, she kind of has a lot of those guys beat.
Yeah.
She's fought the best of the best in multiple divisions.
Yep.
So yeah,
And that's the biggest
crazy,
thing.
dude.
Multiple divisions is the biggest thing for sure. Now, John Jones might have something to say about that now that he's a heavyweight champ as well as having been the light heavyweight champ. And, we'll see what kind of a road he takes here if he decides to hang it up soon or if he just keeps going. Um,
Hmm.
but he kind of has he can make himself look a little better, but I don't know that he's going to reach any of this with all the retirement talk as of late. So, but yeah, that about does it. Who are you going for, Nunez or Aldana,
I
if you
think
had to pick?
yeah, you got to go with Amanda Nunez. I think you know she has more ways to win the fight. I think the momentum should be hers. I think this in the striking department she should be the winner. I think grappling wise she's not a slouch either. She should beat her there. That I think she has more ways to win the fight. She's the favorite, and it's for a reason. I don't want to sound like I'm sleeping on Aldana, but it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah, yeah, it's been proven, but here's the thing, she's got another kid on the way. So she's got
Yeah.
they got their first kid, she's married, she's got another kid on the way, she's very family oriented. Not saying that that's a distraction, but, on top of that, she's, so many like, she's just been here for so long. But it seems
And
like
well,
she's
that's what
still hungry.
I was gonna bring that up too as like a topic of a conversation because like obviously I think like depending on how the result of this match goes, like there's still that Juliana Pena fight kind of waiting in the wings for her. So
Yeah,
obviously like she could do that and kind of have the trilogy done, but it's like I think she is getting to that point where she's going to be ready to walk away. And she's going to be one of those people that like has the potential to walk away in that special category
on
of people
top.
like yeah, you that never really got, dethroned, to go out in your prime and while you're still the best is pretty rare and she looks like she might be able to do that. So, we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see, how these interviews go in this week and then how everything looks after the fight plays out and what happens with that. I'm going to be paying attention to see what the next steps are for her because I do think that we're getting she's getting towards the finish line with her situation.
Yeah, she's on the back nine for sure. But she sounds like she's still hungry and still wants it. She talked a lot of shit about Juliana Pena, saying there's no fucking way she's gonna walk away letting her have the belt. So, you know, I think she might want to get in there and beat her ass again. She said straight up she doesn't like her. She talks a lot of shit and she's full of herself, is what she said. So,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's gonna stick around, win or lose, to try to fight her again. And even if she loses this one, she still has a 145 strap, and they haven't fought. She hasn't defended that belt in quite a while. So,
Mhm.
we'll see what they do with that. There's no way they're gonna let her just walk away without at least defending it once, especially if she loses this title. So
She has no contenders.
that's the problem. That's the problem. That they might
Yeah.
just they might just wrap that division up if she walks away. So
Well, and I think that's the thing too, right? Is like if she does walk away, that opens up everything again. It makes things interesting.
yeah,
That might be the one downside to someone being so dominant for so long. I think we kind of saw it with Anderson Silva too, where you kind of got to a point where it's like you've beaten so many people that now the people that are left to fight, it's like it's not as intriguing or as exciting as it would be with the guys that have the bigger names or the bigger followings, or the guys that are should be the bigger contenders. So
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. But I mean all we can do is wait and see. And I hope it's a good fight. I hope it's not like just some boring kind of, stalemate fight. I don't think it will be though. They're both big hitters and I think they're gonna come
yeah,
out
no,
there
I
looking
don't
for
think so at
blood.
all. I think that one ends quick.
Yeah. All right. Well, that about wraps that up. And shit. Going on 2 hours here. We had a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
That's what usually
absolutely.
happens too when I,
When we
you
get
know,
together, yep.
yeah, we always have a lot to talk about, and there was a lot to go over this time, so it was cool. I apologize to everyone for the audio mishap, especially to you because that was on your end, but it was my fault. So I apologize. Hopefully everybody got through that okay, and it should be fine. I don't think it happened for too long. Thanks, Clark, for the heads up, and my brother Christo fucking sent me a message too, letting me know. So I appreciate that. That's why I always like it when people tune in live and let me know what's going on. I still blame Clark because he didn't show up and I had things ready. Otherwise, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think that's what we're gonna roll with. This is all Clark's fault.
Yeah, you better get your shit together, Clark, and we're gonna plan maybe the next. Well, you know what? The next UFC pay per view, I'm gonna be in Vegas, so I'm not going to the
Oh
actual
yeah.
fight, but I'm going to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm going to the UFC Expo. I'm going to hopefully the weigh-ins and the press conference. So I'm gonna try to do all that. I'm gonna be gone for like 10 days. I'm gonna be in San Diego and then in Vegas for all that shit. So it'd be dope.
Oh, well, that's gonna suck.
And I am gonna put a podcast out. It might be pre-recorded and stuff, but we'll see what kind of content I can get. It's a work trip, man. I'm going to work on this.
Yes.
So no, it'll be cool though. So I won't be here for the next one, but maybe after that we'll do one with all three of us. Unless there's like a big juicy card coming up that's not a pay-per-view. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll just get together
for
for that.
sure.
I like talking about the pay-per-views because it's always bigger events and stuff, but we'll get it working here soon. Clark's just got to get his shit together.
Yeah, we'll get it in, and then I got to make it down to Tucson, guys. I think I'm due. I haven't seen Josh's goofy sweater ass in a while, so I gotta go see what's
Yeah,
up to him, and then miss all you fools. So I got to get
yeah, for
down there
sure.
soon.
Supposedly he's coming over to watch fights this week, and I didn't put out a big old invite because I kind of was like, I don't know. It was a last minute thing that we were actually gonna watch it, so I was gonna just do a podcast, but we decided to actually have it at the house. So, I guess he's coming. We'll see what happens, but
Yeah.
either
Well,
way,
he's all in love now, so
I
we'll
know.
see.
Yeah, man, we'll have to plan that soon. But thanks again for being on the podcast again, and it's always a good time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
Clark,
man. My pleasure.
yeah, thanks for being in the chat, Clark. And yeah, tune back in next Thursday for a recap of the fights, and I'm sure there'll be other. There's UFC cards for the next like 4 months without any breaks. So no matter what, I'm gonna have UFC to talk about for the next 4 months, which is badass. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Going Rounds Podcast YouTube channel always at 7 p.m. on Thursdays. So yeah, check me out next week. And hopefully we'll have some of the guys back on again soon. And yeah, thanks again, Patrick. I think that's about it for now. Everybody enjoy the fights. Don't forget there's a ton to watch. So catch some of it, catch all of it. Don't watch any of it unless, if you don't want to. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Just tune into this next week. We're out. Peace.
Till next time.
Later.